everybody, Zane Banks here for another installment of Bluegrass Guitar, and today we're going to look at the D chord. The D chord in the key of G is your 5 chord. It is very common and you need to know how to play over it. Again, the principles that we've used over C and G are basically going to be what we're going to do here, but because it's a different voicing and it uses different strings, we have to change things slightly. A lot of the time in bluegrass music, you kind of don't play the third, which would be this F sharp here on the second fret of the high E string. It just sounds a bit bright. Not saying you don't do it, but most of the time people tend to either play an open E, but more common than that is to just keep it as a bare 5 chord. Avoid the E. Your strumming pattern is going to be the same as the other ones, where you have bass note, down up, and then the 5th degree of the scale. So you get that dum, boom, dum, boom. So in this case, it'd be open D, down up strum, open A. Now what I do, which is a little bit tricky over this, is I find that the D and the A just bleeding into each other is a little bit messy. So what I tend to do is I mute, because I only want to hear one bass note at a time. So I'll go D, and then when I pluck the A, I tap the D with my middle finger just to kill the sound. And then when I do the same, go back and play the D, I tap with my thumb. So I get, as opposed to, the latter lacks clarity even though it has a slightly bigger sound. That's essentially all you really got to do. You can do some hammer-ons if you're going to imply that it is a D7 chord. Now, using it as a D7 chord is really only going to work functionally in the key of G. So what you would do is you could hammer onto the 3rd fret of the A string, which would be the flat 7. You're playing a 7 in the bass. That's the sound we're implying. So you get, it's a very bluesy sound. If you want to make that a little bit cooler, then afterwards you can go to the D string and hammer from the flat 3rd to the major 3rd, which would be 3 to 4, middle to pinky. At a high tempo, it has a really cool sound, really. I love that. If you're playing, of course, in the key of D, the hammer-on licks that I showed you would only really work if it is a very bluesy sound, if it's, say, a tune like Pretty Polly or Reuben. Otherwise, if it's a major tonal D song, you couldn't really do much of that unless you were going to a G, and then it would become an applied secondary dominant, meaning D going to the 4 chord G in the key of D, you could turn into a D7 for that sound. You could play the famed Lester Flack G lick here by going 1, 2 on the low E string, open A, 2nd fret A, open D. We can go, so that's O, 2, 3, 4, then to the G, 2, 4, 2, 3. There's heaps of other stuff you can do over D, but when it comes to just functional playing, if you were going to be doing, say, a slightly country version of like a John Denver song, that's more or less all you really need to know. Not much more to it than that. It's just a matter of practicing with a metronome to make sure that your time is really steady, and all about making sure that you don't use up any unnecessary energy or tension. If tempos start to even get moderately fast in bluegrass music, you'll tense up if you're using too much tension. The thing to remember is, what is a medium tempo for bluegrass would be astronomically fast for any other genre. Like in rock and roll or blues, you never get things like a medium bluegrass song would be something, would be like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's really quick. And bluegrass guys just go like, oh, that's just That's medium, man. So you want to work towards that, because should you ever end up at a jam session where someone calls a real burner, and you'll see into the future it's going to be that fast. So please practice this stuff, have fun with it, stay safe during this coronavirus epidemic that is going around the world. If you got any lesson recommendations, shoot me a message here on YouTube. Please subscribe. Find me on Instagram at the Rev Dr. Z, and you can also hit me up on Facebook at my artist page, where we got a little bit of a forum thing happening there. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be sure to send you some more bluegrass guitar lessons.